Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to be talking about endings. With every ending, there's a transition period that happens before we get to our new beginning, and sometimes that can be pretty uncomfortable. Both Carolyn and I are going through our own endings at the moment, and we thought that we'd share our process with you. Carolyn, thanks for joining us again. How are you going?
Hi, Lisa. So amazing to be with you again. Yeah, and it's so lovely to have everybody here that's listening live and on the playback. Yeah, and I think we were just talking before we came on here about, I suppose the huge life change, not just us, but I think a lot of people are going through. Like it's such a huge kind of transition for a lot of people in their lives, in their personal lives, and for me, like the last year and a half, just been such amount of change. Talk about change, like we know that life, the one constant in life is always change, change, change. The seasons change. Like in Celtic spirituality, we're always taught that the cycles of life, everything is always in constant flux and in constant change. But it seems to be, sometimes our life goes around along, and sometimes it's quite, it has a nice rhythm to it, and it has its own kind of yeah, beautiful rhythm, and that you're in a period of life where things are running along smoothly enough and there's not major change, and then all of a sudden you go through a transition period in life or something happens and then there's major change. And for me, it's been the passing away of my parents, and then it also came with health issues for myself as well. And I suppose my children kind of getting older. I'm going into teenage years as well. So there's been a massive shift for me personally. And it's like a dying away of my old self and becoming this other person that I don't know yet. So that's what I think the transition is like. It's like you have this identity of yourself, who you know, and you kind of understand. And then you understand then that, everything, as I always say, is interconnected. So when one thing's changes, it changes everything else. So like when my parents both pass away, and like coming to middle age, like I'm 48 now, like moving into like even having to think about health and stuff is something that I never had to think about before. And then my children getting older and starting to kind of, I suppose, seeing them become really independent, and you start to look at yourself and see like, who am I now? Who am I becoming? And it's very much like, I suppose, when you have this spiritual mindset or mystical mindset, that you're always looking kind of on the eternal sense of who you are as well, not just in this lifetime, but how will your life affect, how does it affect everyone around you and going forward. So it's kind of it's amazing time when life starts to churn up a huge amount of change, because like we are saying, you're going into the unknown, and that transition period can be very difficult but beautiful but sweet as well. So I was like a bittersweet in the post underneath this, because like there's this beautiful feeling of abundance and everything that you have and you have had, and also then the bitterness of like having to let go of what you don't want to let go of, but you know that you can't let go. If you don't let go, then you can't come. And myself and Lisa were just sharing, actually it was beautiful before this, about, I was talking about when I grew up in the countryside, and in the end of the summer, where I grew up under the mountains, and they'd burn the mountains, like, because they knew. And I got really shocked when I was a child, because they were burning off the mountains and the header off the mountains. And I was just told, oh, no, 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 it'll come back better. It'll come back better next year. And I couldn't understand this, because it seems so violent. And then Elise was sharing with me, like in Australia, that they do the same with the bushfires, because it helps with the seeding, and it helps with the regrowth. And it just feels like that, Lisa, doesn't it? And we were just saying how we're experiencing that as well. So it's kind of beautiful, it's natural, but it's definitely feels like this burning, this burning in your heart. And you just have to kind of surrender to it, through the process, Lisa.
Yeah, I agree. Carolyn, my endings have been, I've just moved quite a distance from Sydney to the Sunshine Coast, and it was a real intuitive thing. I sort of was feeling a calling earlier this year in March, and really it was only 5 or 6 weeks ago, I just knew I had to act, got in a car, came up, found a place, just got this place, went home, and in a week and a half just packed up and left. And
Yeah.
that, even though I know that there's this intuitive thing happening, and I really trust that, and I've often in my life taken these big risky steps based on this intuitive knowing, it doesn't mean that I don't have a feeling around it. So I've landed here. I've been here for 2 weeks, and I actually got quite sick when I arrived, which didn't sort of help the way I was feeling. But being in a new place, it's been very interesting because I have felt very ungrounded. I've felt very disconnected. Like Carolyn mentioned something earlier. It's like when I've not been like the people that love me and surrounded me in Sydney, I was in their thoughts, I was in their life. And so I had a frame, but there's no frame here at the moment because I've just arrived. I don't know anybody. I've completely started anew. And so I really don't have any frame of reference for myself. And I'm really intending to just allow, like to really sit in that feeling because it's very uncomfortable and not trying to create something new from it, just keep myself busy. I go to bed at night and I feel this real void, which just feels horrible. Like I'm feeling this real like emptiness. And like I was saying to my daughter, I just want to keep eating, right? So, and I know that if I keep eating and I'm not feeling satisfied, that's emotional, right? So I've just got to stop eating because I'm not going to be satisfied anyway.
Yeah.
Because you do, don't you? It's like, oh
Yes,
my God,
of course.
I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
So
to fill that hole, yeah.
You do, and it's like this real void. And I think this transition period, like, and I know that it's not just you. I think this is happening to so many people right now. It's like how much can we consciously be in this state of metamorphosis, where we actually can go, well, I'm feeling a void, I'm feeling empty, I'm feeling this, like, and I'm not going to fill it with something just now. I'm going to see what life brings to me. I'm going to allow life to bring to me, what's going to happen for me next. And it's like trying not to create a new concept or a new identity of myself, like allowing that burning off to complete and just being with that process. And, it's not easy because it doesn't feel good. But I do believe that in the long term, it actually is going to be way more beneficial.
Yeah. And actually, I feel, Lisa, like that, I was saying to you actually that I was in my mom's house for the last night and all the furniture was gone and everything was empty. The whole place was empty. And actually the Wi-Fi was gone and everything. And there was nowhere for me to run or hide or get solace. There was no food. There was nothing. There was totally, talk about like, austere. Like it was just me and the four walls, and like I had to bed down on the ground that night. I was like, and it was the best thing ever because I just had to feel into it. There was no distractions. There was no running for myself. There was no fun, Lisa. There was no calling anyone, the way. And then I was like, just have to sit with it. And, I must say that then I decided I was going to get up and go for a swim the next morning, which I did. And I feel all the better for it, and I think the process has, I feel like it was kind of natural. I was in the natural movement of that kind of grieving because I would allowed myself be in it, that kind of way. And I was kind of enforced as well. And, that you could actually, because if not, I was just avoiding it. I would just be avoiding being busy or eating or going out or entertaining myself or anything like that, and then you're just putting it on hold, aren't you? You're just pausing it, and then it'll just come up again, maybe in a year's time, 2 years time, whatever. So when I come back to Dublin now, I feel actually, I feel like I experienced it as it was happening. I didn't delay it and I didn't postpone it. Postponed experience is what trauma is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's so true. And just being like having the conscious awareness to witness what you're going through and allow the process, because I don't know, like I still feel very unsettled. And, even today I have waves of loneliness come up and, like spoke to a friend on the phone, I got really teary and, so I don't know when I'm actually going to feel grounded and like I've landed, or if I just have no idea. But it's having that conscious awareness of it's okay, because this also is life. This also is an experience of life that I'm moving through. And if I can just be with it, then I will come out the other side and I will benefit from it. But it's just like not trying to move through it fast, just allowing it to be there as it is.
Yeah, and I'm just actually, as you're saying that, I'm looking at the waves and the sea in the background, and I'm thinking about, it's like as if the whole body of life is like this, the ocean, the sea of all, you know, and all the water, and but actually we're just the waves. So you know, you often hear that in spirituality as well, but like to understand it as like the weather and the environment around us, that kind of causes waves. So like even when I went for a swim the other morning, like there was actually no waves, and I was like, how is there no waves on the sea? It was just so still. So it's like being still in the discomfort. So there's a
Mm.
stillness. There's so that you bringing in like a, I suppose, the stillness and the pain at the same time. So you can witness how you're feeling. So you're seeing yourself like that wave, but you're also the sea, the body of the sea. You're the body of the sea, which, and the wave is your individual self, is such, you know, that kind of way. So you're going in and out all the time, but sometimes the waves can be very stormy and crashing and destructive, and you know, you're churning, because you know the way a wave churns, like, you know, it's like your heart is churning around, you know, because you're in that um transition period, like you're saying, where you're just breaking down. And the metamorphosis is a brilliant word as well, because actually my mom, like everyone knows like that she loved butterflies, and she had a butterfly room, and I talked about that at the funeral as well, that she had this special room for all the kids, and it was all butterflies and stuff. And it's amazing though, because like I was saying, that it's like as if that butterflies are in your heart, you know, the way that feeling of it's kind of all moving around, and you feel like so much in your heart during those times. But it's beautiful to feel that too, because if you don't feel that, you're numbed, you know,
Mm.
and you're just not experiencing life at all. So it's like you have to have this radical courage to feel the experience of life, you know, and it pushes you on to the next level, and it kind of informs you, and it creates you into this new person that you're designed to become, you know. So there's great logic in the design of life, you know. That's why I always call it design, because design was always logic and creativity two together. It's not just being created independently, there's actually a purpose to it, you know. So like
Mm.
to have that trust and to have that understanding of the larger plan, you know, as well as the individual, there's a larger plan, you know. And it's just, it is, it is a process, and it takes time, you know, it does
Mm.
take time, you know. So
Doesn't
before
that,
you, yeah, yeah,
just sitting with that feeling, like
yeah,
the discomfort of the void, and wanting to, like you said, wanting to find solace and wanting to, looking
mm,
around for something that can ease it.
mm,
And it's like, just sit with it as long as you can and just allow it to be there,
yeah,
and I think accepting is like really accepting, okay, this is where I am right now. Why wouldn't I feel like this?
yeah,
Why wouldn't we feel like this? We've had an ending and we're in a transition period. It makes sense, and just being really nurturing. And I think that's helped me to talk to myself like that. Well, why wouldn't you feel like that? It's okay. You know?
exactly, exactly. Yeah, and it's funny, it's because it's kind of like you kind of let go of the thoughts of who you thought you were. That's the pain of it a lot of times. It's kind of like, I want to hold on to who I used to be when I had everything, everyone around me that I knew and loved me and stuff like that. But I know I can't be that same person. I have to become another person. And it's like a growing up. You have to grow up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a growth. It's a growth. And that's what we talk about, growth and the spiral in spirituality. So it's all about growing. You know, you're always expanding and growing larger version of yourself. And then that you're now, there's others looking on to you, like as if I looked on to my mother, there's others looking on to us, you know what I mean? So we have to be the elders, you know. So it's like that's the transition, and sometimes you don't want to take that responsibility on, you know, because it's like like yourself, you have to grow up, you move away from your mother and your circle of your family. You know, it's hard to do that, but then you have to follow your calling, which is that's always pulling you in a direction where you're meant to be, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the
Why wouldn't it feel bad,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you are actually leaving a version of yourself
yeah,
behind. You actually are having to grieve and lose someone that you thought you were, a person that did these certain things, lived in a certain place.
mm,
But now for me, like I'm creating a new persona, a new identity, I guess, of some, well, there's a new
yeah,
version of me
yeah,
turning up in a new place.
yeah,
So why wouldn't you feel grief and loss and a void? Like
yeah,
it makes sense that as you leave something behind of
mm.
you, that you're going to feel those feelings.
Yeah, and it's like a tenderness, like a little plant. It's very
Mm.
tender at the beginning, and it can be, you know, so it's not established in itself yet.
Mm.
You know, once it starts to become more established, it gets stronger. Like, you know, it doesn't even
Mm.
know what it is. Like, it's like, oh, I'm a little green leaf. I don't know. I could be a tree, or I could be a
Yes.
rose, or I could be a like an oak tree. I could be like a great blade of grass. I don't really know what I am yet. You know? And then you
Maybe
realize,
I'll grow up.
yeah, am
I
I?
know. I
You
know.
know, so it's like then eventually you go, oh, I'm a potato plant or something, whatever you decide you realize you are, you know.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah,
the joy, right? That's the
yeah,
joy of a life
yeah. That's it.
experience. So
That's it.
we needed to share our
Yeah,
experience tonight
yeah,
because we both are going through transitions, and we sort of figured that if we were going through it, there's probably going to be a few people out there
yeah,
doing the same. So be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself, and as much as you can, just be conscious of being in the process.
yeah, and embrace the mystery of life. There's the magic in there, you know.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Short one tonight, and we'll see you Wednesday night with Yemi Penn TED Talk
Mm,
about trauma. So that should be a great conversation.
amazing. Can't wait for that. Thank you all for listening, and we hope what we shared has helped you all. And we'll see you again on Wednesday. Take care. Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
Lisa. Take care.
Bye.